GM Rank 1 support sensei Awkward is one of the most prolific coaches in the Overwatch community today, and his teachings are inspiring thousands of Overwatch players to take ownership of their games and their gameplay. But in my journey to find my true ceiling, I've come across many other capable and qualified teachers that can help fill in the gaps between Awkward's principles and my practice. Today we're going to study under Maeve, a Tier 2 professional Overwatch coach, top 500 all-around player, and top 100 flex support player. You won't believe the insights I was able to receive from one of the masters of the game. For people to have a little intro as to who you are, your experience, your specialties, things like that.
So, hi, I'm Maeve. I'm a Tier 3 and Tier 2 coach. I've coached a number of teams in Open Division, some collegiate. I coached with Shifty of British Hurricane, who won Contenders EU in season 2 or 1, I think. I just really, really love teaching. I've also played a lot in OD myself, top 100 flex support, top 500 other roles. I've played the game since season 14, I think, of Overwatch 1. So I've been here for a decent amount of time.
No, that's really cool. I played a little bit of Overwatch 1, but it was at the very last season. I don't even think I played ranked, so really Overwatch 2, this was my
Overwatch 2 experience.
Yeah.
Mostly, I just want to spend the time now getting into the VOD review, talking about some of the fundamentals and expanding upon some of the stuff that mantras Awkward wants you to remember by, or to live by, rather.
Yeah.
I want to kind of add more context and fill out some of the gaps in which there's sometimes nuance in the things that he prescribes, because he's not playing the same game as you, and there's always some element of variance that happens, and I want you prepared for that. So mostly the discussion now just be theoretical, and I want to talk about mostly playing to your range. In Overwatch, range is pretty important. A lot of heroes are really defined by it, right? Yeah. You have heroes like Widow, they're super long range. Heroes like Tracer, they're super short range. But it's not quite as simple as that for some characters. For example, Tracer, sure, her bullets are pretty close range, right? She shoots and she doesn't do a lot of damage unless you're pretty close. You have to be within her sphere of influence. It has to be pretty close. But she has 3 blinks. So she can close that distance, and her effective range is way bigger than it may look. If Tracer's 1 blink, this is how far, 2, 3, these are her range, right?
Yeah.
So she can get up to this distance. Yeah. Her range is deceiving, even though she's a relatively close range character. Just with her gun itself, she has more to it than that. Some characters are a little more complicated, like say Ramatra. Ramatra has some range when he's in one form, but he doesn't when he's in another. So there's an ebb and flow to the kind of range you should be playing at. And that's kind of what I wanted to get at, is that there's a time and place to play closer to the enemy, and there's a time and place to play farther from the enemy. And it's really contextual. The range you want to play at is relative to the enemy you're trying to fight. Yeah. The same thing is true for, say, Baptiste versus the Torbjorn.
The infamous Torb battle.
And I don't think I even remember this on Havana. I don't think I watched this one in particular. Yeah. But what I want to say is maybe when Torb's turret is down, when his overclock is down, maybe it's time to get closer. Maybe you're more threatening at close range when you have your cooldowns up. But when he has his up, maybe you want to play range. If you're ever playing Kiriko, there's a time and place to get close, and there's a time and place to get far. And it's mostly that I want you to be planning ahead of time when they engage on you, what do you want to do? If Reaper gets on top of you, do you want to back up? Do you want to move away? It depends. If Reaper has Fade, he's probably not going to be killable anyways, so there's not a lot of point in dueling. Maybe you just want to take them, try and back up. Yeah. If Reaper doesn't have TP, maybe you can play range. Maybe you can stand in front of his LOS and just spam him out because he can't get on high ground with you. That's pretty much what I'm getting at. Okay. I'll mute this for you, and then I think we'll watch Vaughn, because I actually haven't seen this one. Okay, so Once her mantra has no punch, he's going to play farther range. So maybe we want to get closer to him. We get an off angle here. Cool. Oh, let's talk about this too. This is a really good moment of something that I don't know if you're doing consciously or not, but really good mechanically played. When people aren't looking at you, want to strafe with them. See how you started moving right here?
Yeah.
And to add more to this, there are two kinds of strafing. There's strafing with someone, like matching their movements.
Yeah.
And then there's counter strafing. That's when you're moving the opposite direction of them. And there's a time and place for both. You want to strafe with someone when you have a faster time to kill than them. So, say you're playing Kiriko. Each shot takes 0.75 seconds to come out. 2 shots kills a 200 HP target, right? If you hit both headshots.
Yeah.
You're likely going to have a faster time to kill than, say, a I don't know.
Like a Moira?
Maybe a more absolutely a Moira, yeah, or like a Symmetra. If you're against a Moira, she takes more time to kill you, so you want to strafe with her, because if you hit shot for shot, you're gonna kill her faster than she can. You'd kill in like 1.5 seconds, whereas she would need like 5 seconds.
Yeah. So
you'd want to strafe with her. You don't care if she hits shots on you, as long as you're hitting shots on her. Let's say you're against a Hanzo. If you're against Hanzo and you're playing Kiriko or BAP or whoever, Hanzo has the ability to one-shot. Yeah. So his time to kill is practically nothing. And that means you'd want to counter-strafe. You want to throw off his movement, and you want to make sure that he's not hitting you.
Gosh, yeah. Okay.
So, with Torb, when he's not looking at you and he's not a threat, you want to strafe with him. After that, it really depends. When Torb has his cooldowns up, when he has his overclock, he's going to get a burst of HP. He's going to get close to us. We may want to consider counter-strafing. Because the closer he is, the more reliably he's going to hit his shots, even though they're projectiles. And if he hits his shots, he probably has faster time to kill than us, because he could hit two pellets to the head, or like 2 right clicks if he's really close to kill us. So maybe we want to counter-strafe. And we don't have our cooldowns either, so that's another thing. If we have Lamp, maybe we just match his movement. We Lamp, and then we match his movement, because he has to kill the Lamp first to kill us, so we buy ourselves time. I mean, even if you're facing a Hanzo on Baptiste, if you have Lamp up, you could jump up, Lamp yourself, and then strafe with him, and it doesn't matter if he hits a headshot, your Lamp saves you.
Yeah.
So that's what I want you thinking about when you're entering a duel. And that's why I wanted to mention it here. When I saw you strafing very cleanly like this, that was really, really nice. Really, really nice. But we don't have cooldowns, so we got close, and we weren't able to counter-strafe away.
That's one of the big plays that I got a lot of criticism on.
From?
Yeah, because I didn't have cooldowns. I don't think I realized I didn't have cooldowns, because I used them on our tank pretty early. And then I just ran around the corner.
This segues into something really nice too. So you had to use cooldowns on tank.
Yeah.
And the reason why you had to use cooldowns on your tank is because you weren't set up in a position in which you could do damage first, which isn't your fault, because you're coming out of spawn, right? Yeah. You don't have time. Your tank immediately engages. Now that we have a window, I want you looking for a position that can get you damaging enemies as soon as possible from an optimal range, because every 1 point of damage is worth 1.75 in heals, or 1.5 heals is what I normally say. Regardless, it doesn't matter. There's no actual statistical conversion for this. It's just a saying, in that damage is way, way, way more important. You can't do damage all the time. You don't have the luxury of doing damage if your tank is too critical, or if your DPS is too critical.
And I
see
I'm sorry.
Sure.
I'm very curious about this equation. I know it's not a hard and fast rule, but this idea, it comes up in awkwards, whatever, damage. Damage.
Yeah, we can.
But the mathematical aspect of it, in terms of sometimes I'll be out healed by a Mercy who does 0 damage whatsoever, but I'm 5k off. She has 15, I have 10, but I also have 8k damage or something like that. Is that something people can be thinking about in terms of value? How do I evaluate myself relative to, if we're just trying to do a sum number, hey, this is my damage plus,
You can't really calculate that per se, but what I will say is the reason why damage is more effective, and the reason why I say that is because damage is direct pressure. When you heal someone, you're enabling them to do pressure, but they're not always consistent. They're not always have the best timing. If they're taking damage, they're likely backing off of a good angle. The inverse is true. If you're doing damage, you're forcing people off of their good angles, so they have less ability to do damage themselves. They have less ability to do healing themselves. They have less ability to use their cooldowns when they want, because they might get it forced out of them. Say you shoot a Reaper 3 times in the head, he has to fade. He has to fade away. That's awesome. You got way more from that than healing your Reinhardt could ever do, because your Reinhardt can't do what you do. Your Reinhardt can't make that Reaper use fade. So that's why I say it's not a direct conversion, because there are times where pocketing a teammate might be more valuable. Say, a nano-boosted Sojourn and ulti. Sure, just pump the heals on that character. Get some damage in between if you can, but keep that thing alive, because that's going to end the fight for you. But it's a rare situation in which healing is really generally preferred over damage. You really only heal when you have to, and you only have to heal when not enough pressure is being put out. If a perfect game of Overwatch was played, which will never happen, and you're unranked, so you need to depend on your teammates for this. Your teammates wouldn't need a single drop of healing. If they had the space, if they want to fight, they'd position themselves perfectly to poke them on the way in, and the team would never be able to walk forward. They'd be constantly stuck healing using cooldowns on themselves. Okay, we see Reaper TP up, and then he immediately fades. Interesting. Lucia's there.
It is a very low rank. You might not be used to seeing something like.
I just coached someone in gold. It is pretty similar.
Oh, perfect.
A lot of tanks have a tendency to like, they play around their HP way more than their cooldowns. Like that Reinhardt dropped shields while he was low HP. And he didn't bring shield up again because while he was getting heals, he just wanted to tank it all. He didn't want to trade. Now Reinhardt trades HP for shield health a lot of the time, because shield health also aids your teammates. As opposed to just you. So Reinhardt HP isn't the most useful thing in the world, but he wasn't expecting that. He didn't time the way he was dropping his shield around ram cooldowns, because the ram was punching at him. So when he drops shields, he's suddenly taking much more damage than he is used to per second, because the enemies are also shooting at him, and ram is at his strongest point right now. All right, so we should be proactively moving up. I don't want you sitting on cart. And now your teammates are absolutely going to drop the ball, and they're not going to push cart longer than they should, but someone will pick up the cart eventually, and you just kind of have to, like, they're Pavlov's dogs. You have to train them. That you're not the cart bitch. You're not sitting on cart. This is your time to get a good position. You need to be proactively moving up somewhere, because, like I said, if you're here and your tank starts fighting, you have to move up and start pumping heals into him while he's taking critical damage, and you don't have time to take an off angle to do damage to someone to prevent that in the first place. And so this is a trap that happens a lot of times. The cart is not the support's job. The cart is the job of the most mobile hero most of the time. Like in pro play, you'll see Tracer in cart a lot. Why? Because Tracer can get to the fight from almost no matter what range. She doesn't have a lot of downtime. She doesn't need time to set up. But a Widow almost never sits on cart. Why? Because Widow needs to get planted in her position.
I'm normally used to, because I got into an argument with this for no good reason, because there's no point in arguing it with people that you don't even know. But when I'm Anna, I never play cart. And I guess I thought I had high mobility as BAP, so I'm like, I guess I can sit on it, but
you do have high vertical mobility. And I think sitting in cart's not the worst here, because you can like exo boots up to the high ground here and play this. The reason why I don't like it in this situation is because we saw that Orion was just walking here. Sometimes solo queue is not necessarily playing the most optimal game, and it's sometimes covering our teammates' mistakes. Orion absolutely should be paying attention to the facts that we are not ready for him here, that he cannot hold his shield here and just die. But because we're going to play with stupid people, and we're going to play with people that don't have the best awareness, it's our job to ditch cart, walk through here, maybe exo boots up to the high ground right here. And then you can heal and damage from there.
Yeah.
Or walk around car. You have some cover here. You can shoot them from this angle. And then your Rhine has this one. So if they walk through here, they're caught in a crossfire. It's kind of hard to demonstrate since, it's just on video. And then you have a safety escape too. If they push you, you can back up, jump to high ground here. If they have a flanker or that's not an option, maybe they have a widow here and you don't want to peek that, you can jump to here. There's a lot of places to go. The best positions are sometimes the ones that aren't the best on their own, like statically, but sometimes the ones that are best to segue from. This position is great on its own if our team is holding the right space and we can see them, but you have to cross a lot of open space to get to the next good set of positions, which are like over here.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't like this as much, because it's fine on its own in a vacuum, but it's not going to help you over a long fight as your teammates push up.
So this is an interesting question, because I really do like that position, but when I think about it, I'm like, wow, that is a really aggressive stance. And when a comparison point I'm thinking of is if we think of the Paraiso game, I take a similar position, kind of. In the very beginning of the game, I moved to the left side of the bridge. And I got feedback before, like, you should never be in that position. You have no way out. Like, it's a similar thing. Like, up there on that top left height, someone might say, you have no way out. If your team dies, you get isolated or something like that. Is it still worth that aggressive stance?
No. So that position back there, and I'll actually skip to this.
Right here.
I remember this. Okay.
So that, to me, in my brain, how I'm processing it is, wow, this is a similarly aggressive position because, one, I can see I'm setting up kind of an off angle from my team, and I can see I have good visibility to block them from coming out. Similar to on Havana, the Rhine is positioned up ahead so I can get shots on them. But then this is I think I have no way out of here,
There's a time and place for this. I like this position for the reason you listed. It creates basically an off angle with your team. If they're shooting from main or they're shooting on the other little window right here, that's awesome. It has good visibility. You just need to analyze their comp the moment they move out and decide who is a threat to me. Do they have a Lucio? Could they speed up the back of this to catch me out? Do I have enough time to rotate away? This is kind of something I wanted to talk about. This is analyzing effective range. Reaper is a close range character, right? He doesn't do a lot of damage far away, but he has teleport. Like I was saying with Tracer, Tracer is close range, but she has blinks. The same thing is true of Reaper. You're playing here, when Reaper has TP up, you have to think of yourself like you are in Reaper's arms right now. You are hugging him. Because no one on your team can peel since no one else is here. So this might be an awareness issue. I think Orisa should be here. Absolutely, you should have been able to hold this position and sit where you were, but your Orisa wasn't there. So that was an awareness issue on your part. Secondly, you didn't realize that the Reaper could actually get to you. You didn't consider that as a threat because, Reaper's close range and Reaper can't jump up to high ground. Well, Reaper can TP.
Right.
Also, just a micro thing. Moving back this way is bad because it isolates you from your team. Your Mercy couldn't see you to fly to you. Your Orisa can't javelin a Reaper running at you. The Echo has a harder time shooting from range since you're getting farther from her instead of closer. So I just didn't like the direction you ran, but you didn't have a lot of time to react to it just because he TP'd up super fast. It definitely caught you off guard.
Because I think he TP'd to the middle of the bridge, so it's like I have to go towards him.
He TP'd right here, and you'd have to run towards him. It may feel counterintuitive, but you have lamp up. You can buy yourself time. You have time to run across this. Now our teammate gets caught. Whatever, we can't help that. But in this situation too, Reaper at close range probably has a faster time to kill than us. He could actually one-clip us. If Reaper hits all headshot pellets, he could literally one-shot us. So we want to counter strafe against him. And just a little micro thing. Oops, I brought up all the scribbles. Just a little micro thing. If we look back at this play, I think you're strafing with him. And it may not be intentional, but we're kind of matching his movement.
Yeah.
You could be a little more chaotic, make it harder.
Yeah.
When we're at further range, though, Reaper doesn't have the ability to one-shot us. We have faster time to kill because our bullets hit more accurately. So we counter-strafe with him when he's far away.
Yeah.
So it's not entirely static. There's some nuance to it. If you're dueling Reaper, if you're close, you counter-strafe. If you're far away, you strafe with him.
Yeah, I don't even think like that's something I'm definitely not conscious
not thinking
of
about at all, and that's okay because that's something that isn't intuitive. It's not something that the game teaches you. There are a lot of negative feedback loops for support players in Overwatch that really hinder support progress, like in terms of improving. Like supports aren't punished directly for a lot of their mistakes. Sometimes it gets transferred to the tank. If you're not in the right position, your tank is the one that dies first.
Yeah.
So you question, why did my tank die? I'm trying to heal you, and then your tank says, I need healing. And it's neither of those. It's that you weren't in a proactive enough position to do damage before the fight. So that the pressure on your tank is alleviated. It's because you weren't in a position to move up with your tank as he was going. You weren't in a position that was dynamic, right? The one that can shift from point to point. One of the reasons why this isn't great is because from here, where do you have to move? You have to walk across their open space again, right?
Yeah.
You have to walk into their team. If you were holding here and you move to the right, you can move to other good positions that you can hold from.
Yeah.
It's not just that you're backed into a corner. If you killed that Reaper, it still would be a bad position. It doesn't matter that you're backed into a corner. It's that you're backed into a corner and you have nowhere to go from here. You have no other position in this corner. This corner is not bad because Reaper has an easier time dueling you. It's bad because you have nowhere else to go after you kill Reaper. The difficult thing, too, about dying last on support is that if your team's not aware and they don't really ensure that they're not, like, taking a fight too early, they take so much poke like this, like your diva, and then you're stuck healing her. And you don't have time to poke. It's a really low elo issue. So mostly I'd say if you think you're going to lose the fight, I would try and make a play. If you're, like, down 2, you don't have resources, maybe your team doesn't have ultis, maybe they have everything up, you're just like, yep, this is definitely lost, go for a crazy play. If you die sooner, that's better, because you stay on track with your tank.
This one you'll see, because I'm healing her from when I come out of here, all the way till when she pushes. We lose 2, and I'm still healing her, and you can hear me say, like, I'm not heal botting you, dude, because I was so frustrated that I had been tailing this guy, healing him.
Yeah.
And then what you said is, like, I try to make a play because our Zen got a pick or somebody got a pick. And I'm like, okay, maybe we can win this. But I was so frustrated heal botting, like, our diva. I just let him die, and then I died anyways. So it's like delayed.
And something also, too, it's not consistent because it's solo queue teammates. But like I said earlier, you kind of have to train your teammates. You can just deny them healing. It may be better in the long run if you're like, this diva is not aware of me, make her aware of you. Make her understand that, oh, I'm not getting healing if I'm doing this. Make her understand that now is the time you need to rotate. If you want to use voice chat, cool. They might not listen. Otherwise, just literally making them work with fewer resources, they'll slowly adapt over time. Hopefully. It's not consistent. I don't like advising it, but if it's a real issue, then yeah.
So, like, I'm so frustrated at healing this guy, and then I go to the right. I'm like, I'm sick of it. But yeah, that's such an interesting point because one, I'm imagining maybe there's some bronze silver players watching these episodes. So training your teammates, it's kind of scary when you're not good because you're in those ranks. But then actively, saying, listen, I'm not going to heal you for making bad plays. Right. Like, how does someone navigate the guarantee almost of, like, getting flamed?
I'd say, honestly, if you want, turn off voice chat. I don't talk in ranks.
Yeah.
What I will say also is that don't int with the enters. If your teammate's going to die anyways, like that diva, no matter how much healing she gets, she's dying anyways. You have to compensate for her. If she really sucks bad and she's not trainable, then you have to make up for it in other regards. It's kind of like, say an example, let's say they have a nano boosted Genji, and you're not playing anything that can help your backline. Say that your backline's an Ana, right? You pray your Ana hits asleep, and you go try and trade for their backline. You jump onto that.
Yeah.
Reason being, you're not doing anything to that Genji. You can't help that situation.
Yeah.
You just have to make a play elsewhere. You have to trade the backlines.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a mentality I think you should try and take when you're with certain difficult to work with teammates. It's that I'm not playing for you anymore. You're not reliable. And it's going to be more difficult some games than others. It's way harder to work around not having a tank than it is to work around not having like one of your DPS as a reliable teammate. But it is something that you can consider.
Okay. Yeah, that's nuts. But I appreciate it, because that's one of those things where it's like, okay, well, you got to do what you got to do to win, and it's not me enabling you. You know, Awkward would say the same thing. Like, if you're a low rank player, like me healing you, what do you want me to do? Like, you haven't gotten a kill in 10 minutes. So
yeah, it's like that your point of damage is worth more than the point of healing on them, because the point of healing on them is not going to go towards getting a good position and putting out actual pressure, because they don't use their abilities effectively enough, they don't use their range effectively enough. You're the only common denominator in all your games, right? So you just have to understand your character really, really well, your limits, and make plays. So yeah, there's a reason why we should back up, obviously, because Reaper's close range, but also because I don't like this this angle from you. If you'll notice, you have 3 teammates stacking here. You have one behind you, you have your Tracer here, and you're here. You just use your cooldown. Ram has punch. Your first instinct isn't even, I'm going to go check high ground. It's back up and get separated from your team. Reason being, Ram gets way more value, gets way more cleave damage, ult charge, pressure out of hitting multiple stacked targets than having to choose to go for separate ones. Especially if your Tracer is not really a valid target, because you can blink away. And then I believe you have a Kiriko behind you. And Kiriko also blinks away. So you need a play to create distance and separate yourself from your teammates, because you're going to create a crossfire on this Ram. When Ram punches into your teammates and you're back over here, your teammates are shooting at his face, you're shooting at his back. Your teammates TP out, he's stuck with no one, and he has no target, and he's pressured harder than he ever could.
Yeah, that situation, I'm pretty sure Soldier visored. I definitely agree. I think the Soldier visored, and we were all pinched in that corner. And that's why I think I didn't want to throw her. I didn't want to throw my lamp. I think I say that in the comms. I'm like, I don't want to throw my lamp for this, because the Tracer was out in the open. But I ended up throwing it, and then I'm like, well, but yeah.
I think also, obviously, in retrospect, these things are really, really easy to spot. I know you can spot these mistakes, and that's not why I'm here. I'd rather discuss ways that, like let's find the root of the problem. Why is it that you were caught unawares? Why was it that you made that play without thinking? Was it autopilot? Was it that you thought Ram didn't have punch? Was it that you didn't know where Reaper was? It could be any of these things. That's really what I want you, like, if you have input on this, if you know what you were thinking at that moment, that's helpful, because I want to diagnose you here, and it'll also help you self-diagnose in the future.
I know I definitely don't count Ram's punches or not. I definitely don't even keep track of that in my head.
Didn't keep track of the cooldown, right?
No.
And I think we definitely could have disengaged from Reaper there, even if we point blank checked him. Like, we didn't hear him, whatever, awareness issue. Awareness comes with time, and there's some other things, but awareness is one of the most difficult things to coach, just because it's a really gradual process. It requires a combination of knowledge and better habits, better looking around, better listening for audio cues, maybe a better setup for you. Like, if your audio volume is on like the wrong one, or like you have like bad like speakers or headphones or something, it might make it more difficult. So that's a lot of really, really difficult to assess issues. What I would say, though, is Ram's effective range. Let's talk about it again. You were playing closer to him because he was not in his nemesis form anymore. He didn't have his arms up at that moment. I'm going to go back to the specific thing, so there's more clarity. In this specific moment, right before this.
Jesus, I'm right under his...
Let's look at Ram. Okay. He's not punchy punch form. we are instinctually not thinking he's a close range character, just like intuitively, right?
Yeah.
So we're not threatened by him at this range, but we have to understand is he has the potential to be close range at any moment when we know that, or when we don't know if his punch is up or not. Because I don't have audio on. Maybe we heard it earlier. Maybe we tracked it. Maybe we didn't. It doesn't matter. With the given information you have, you need to err more on the side of caution. And just assume he has it. Because even though he doesn't put out a lot of threat close range when he's in this form, he has the effective range. Like Tracer with her blinks, when she has blinks up, she's closer than you think. When Ram has punch up, he's closer than you think. There's also the high ground back up here, like literally back behind your camera. I can't draw with perspective like that.
Like at the stairs?
Right there. Let's see if we can see it for a sec. Oops. I want to see if you turn.
Like up the stairs right here on the left?
Right there.
Oh, yeah.
Right up there. There's a platform. Reaper can't TP to that without walking out in the open and getting shot. Like he just can't, right? That's the safe space. Ram doesn't have vertical mobility. So you're not in Ram's effective range if you're on high ground. Because Ram doesn't have vertical mobility. You can easily circumvent the fact that Ram both plays close and far range by sitting on this. You deny the fact that he's getting value from long range with the cover here. And you can still poke him when he decides to get close. When he uses his punch. He can't reach you from here. So sometimes there's these catch-22 positions that just work, like regardless.
I've never gone up there before.
I saw your Kiri climbed up there earlier. Oh, so maybe we could think, or maybe we can attribute this to like map awareness. Maybe we're not aware of the choices we have.
True.
Because mostly I'm trying to, there's a lot of reasons why this could have failed. Maybe cooldown tracking. Maybe we didn't know that there were any other options or where we could sit. Maybe we were autopiloting. So if you see a moment and you're like, that was absolutely autopilot, then we'll talk about how to deal with autopilot. If you see a moment and you go, I don't know what else I could have done there or where I should have been. Maybe I made a mistake here, but I don't know what. That's not autopilot. That's that's an issue of knowledge or like decision making.
Like right there, probably going forward is autopilot. Like,
because Reaper was just here, and if we were listening, I don't have audio on, but Reaper TP is a very loud cooldown.
Well, also, I should have known it on the bridge because I jumped up to the right there above the soldier, and I would jump up and I would expect my team to be like, oh, I can sit here comfortably because we have space, but everyone was either under the bridge or behind me. So I should have already known, like, we didn't even have the space to earn me pressing forward here.
Because also, your Orisa doesn't have vertical mobility, so Reaper's uncontested here. She can't force him off. I mean, she can javelin him. Maybe she hits it. What I will say, too, is also right behind you right now is your Orisa. And again, you're sitting on your tank. You could be playing a position back out towards here. See the gate right here? I'll draw an outline, like we have X-ray vision over your camera. You could be playing around the corner right here because you can walk up to high ground if you want, pressure Reaper from range since we want to poke him from range, and then come back if they start pushing your team and your team needs to kite. If your team pushes forward, you have a good place to walk forward from and help your team too. So this is one of those positions that's not only good on its own, it's good because it segues into several other positions we're likely to want to be at.
Can I ask you, so I'm already on this left side, and one of the things that I would be hesitant to do to get to that spot right there in the little doorway is I have to cross the entire enemy team, the open space, on my life. So I know I'm in the probably not the ideal position here. I'm in off angle because my tank's drawing a lot of attention, so maybe there's some value there. But would you recommend someone taking the long way around to rotate, even if it removes you from the fight? Yeah, even if it removes you from the fight. Like if I went to my right here, behind the building, to the small door on the right, then, so I'm not like in the open, and I wish I could draw with you, but like that small door on the very far right. If I rotate all the way around
rounds to back here,
is it worth it if I'm out of the fight for like 10 seconds?
No. So that's a proactivity thing. If we're not in the right position ahead of time, we're stuck in these damned if you do, damned if you don't situations, right? What I will say though is you do have an opportunity to the high ground we talked about above that I don't think you were aware of was even an option. Jump up to that window there, much stronger position. Because Reaper, we just know, was on this bridge right here, right? He's over to the right or over to the left. He's likely to contest us here. Yeah. If not, the ram turns. And we're inside of his effective range. So just micro-wise, I think there are better positions to play. Like not even like a timing issue. I think you had enough time to get up to here.
Oh, for sure.
It would have been tight. It would have been tight timing. Absolutely. But it was definitely possible.
Yeah. The real issue is the fact that I'm over there to begin with.
And that's one of the difficult things about coaching is sometimes your student plays perfectly the last half of the fight, but the first half of the fight they mess up and they put themselves in a position where they're not they can't care anymore. It's not their choice anymore. They made the bed and now they have to sit in it pretty much.
That stinks.
So Reaper has no fade. We wouldn't have to drop here. I don't know where Reaper went at this point. Relatively fine played. I liked that we were at this position just because Reaper is likely to TP up here and we don't want to be a face tanking. We forced the Reaper out. We forced Reaper fade. We lamped our recess. We saved her from certain death. Now we could be getting up to the high ground again.
See, I had no idea where to go.
Now this high ground, let's talk about another theoretical scenario. Say they have a monkey. This high ground might isolate us from our team if the rest of our team can't get here because we don't have a diva, we don't have a monkey. We have an Orisa now, right? She doesn't have vertical mobility. Maybe now it's not the best position to play. Maybe now we want to stay a little closer to Orisa. Maybe we want to stay on low ground. It's more so about understanding your escape routes and looking at their team. We have one person that wants to play from range, and then maybe two, and three people that want to get practically melee range, right? Yeah. We need to line of sight these two. Let me draw in a different color. We need to line of sight these two. Yeah. And we need to play in an inaccessible area for these guys. And the solution could be different. Kiri can wall climb, so it may not be the perfect angle here because she can wall climb, she can get up. But it depends. Maybe if Kiri's forced out early, we decide that we can take a high ground that she can't contest because she doesn't have Suzu maybe. It's more so about making methodical decisions rather than having the perfect choice because there really is no perfect choice. Random stuff happens. It's Overwatch. It doesn't play out like chess. Yeah. So there's really no quote unquote perfect choice you can make at any given moment. I want you making educated choices. Yeah. Right there, we're shooting Soldier a little bit. We hit our shots, but Soldier's kind of playing into his optimal range at that point. So I would say just a little nitpick. Probably I wouldn't be fighting here. I might jump onto the high ground here. Oh. It's a little closer. Or back here, because then we can see our team. Because what I remember here is that our team they don't have awareness of us, right? Yeah. And in team play, this wouldn't be our fault. In team play, would be like, I can't play that position. This is shit. Because I don't want you stacking on top of them. We have to find some creative way to both satisfy the way we'd like to play and make up for their mistakes and band-aids their mistakes to a certain extent.
I get down to like 70 health here.
Like I said, sometimes, you have to leash your doggy and just teach them that no is no, and you can't do that. And it's absolutely not an option. But in this scenario, you absolutely can be up here and healing them. And then you're playing closer range too, which is nice because you're closer range against the people you want to be close range against, like Soldier, and you're out of reach from the characters you don't want to be close range against.
And then you just, if you get hit, you just fall off to main. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, you can fall off to main, you line of sight them, you can walk back to the right, there's high ground. Yeah. There's a lot of places to go from here.
That's a good spot.
The problem with this place is it's not bad. It's not terrible. I don't hate this place. Yeah. There's some downsides to it though. We can't get to our team reliably without crossing open space. We'd have to drop it would take some time to get to our team.
Right.
So we're not entirely ready for it. We're not in the most proactive position we could be in.
Yeah.
This would be a good position if, say, our team was fighting here on cart and the cart was there.
Right.
But obviously our team isn't. So
it's like I have to either be mechanically good enough to get kills to get value out of that spot, or else my team dies because they have no heals.
Right. And you get a kill. That was really great. Our team dies. Not our fault, but also not entirely out of our control, but also it's not our responsibility.
Right. And the Kiriko came with me. Came with me, so they had no healers whatsoever.
I'd be looking at my Kiriko right now. I can't see anything. I'm not getting enough info just because you should be flicking back and forth between Kiriko and Ram when you're shooting in between shots.
Yeah.
Just for information's sake. I didn't know if she was critical or not.
I couldn't see her. She was above me, but yeah, I think she was.
Yeah. Okay. I don't like this.
Okay.
Let's look back at this. Okay.
Like she Suzus to me punch. Up above me, and then she drops, and then I can't see her.
Ram uses punch. He hasn't used shield. Okay, he just used shield. Once the shield is down, I want you windowing. Okay, it's still up. Problem is now they have line of sight. Now they have cover. So now we need to wait for them to walk into a place that we can actually get value out of this from, and I can't just kite. Also, this Ram used punch probably about 4 seconds ago. Punch is, I think, like an 8-second cooldown. We have a 4-second window to where if he walks out into like a point of no return, if he's really in the middle of open space, then we window. If he's too close to cover, don't window. He just waits for it. And if he doesn't walk into open space and waits for his cooldown, wait for his punch to be back in particular, then we still can't window because we need his punch to be out. He'll block all the damage and just walk back.
Yeah, he probably pops it behind the cart right there.
Played this. Yeah. See, he just pops it behind the cart. He gets the armor. He blocks out. He played this mechanically terribly. You got so many shots on him because he wasn't playing cover. Right. This is the best case scenario, and this didn't even get enough value. I mean, he is just trolling right now. You see that like he still survives though because he has cover to work with. Yeah. It doesn't matter how many shots he face tanks. His supports can keep him up because no one else in our team can see him. We have no cross angle. He's by cover. His supports are in cover, so they're not pressured out.
Yeah.
Maybe if their supports are out of the fight, maybe like we know that Kiriko had to TP aware, had to use Suzu or something so early, or we know she was low HP. Then sure, window him. If he goes behind cover, run at him, push at him. We have lamp up. We can just straight up duel him because then his supports can't peek to help him. But I don't think that was the intention here.
Well, yeah, the hope was that I would melt them.
Yeah.
Immediately. And now I'm in open space, about to die.
Yeah, more just a micro issue, not hugging the corners enough. But you knew that.
Yeah.
I'd say that's more so an issue of maybe habits and like subconscious thought. If it's too much to think about like, if you're at a stage where you have to remind yourself to go to cover a lot, you should be starting with that. That's the basics. Because we really can't learn more than one thing at once. Like our brains don't work that way. We can't. I can't dump info at you. Here's your brain. I can't go get map control, shoot the enemies, do damage, min-max your damage, know every position that you can play from, utilize your high ground, analyze everyone's range, hug cover. I can't do all this at once, and you can't absorb it through osmosis. It's not all going to be fine. You're not going to be like, yep, check, until you're good at not even having this be a checklist.
Yeah, that's such.
You need to remove that C, that hug and cover. That doesn't need to be a check. That needs to be already there. It's already there from the start.
Yeah.
Before you can move on to the other stuff.
It's such a good reminder for people. Like, I mean, and of course, including myself in this, just like I don't know why the heck I'm losing, and then you try to shore up one thing, but then you change it like.
Ooh.
Yeah, I was lucky.
Nah, it was all skill. So, now we should be backing up now.
Yeah.
At this point, we need to get out of their effective range. We're playing into Ram Reaper.
Yeah.
So we don't even care if we have cover per se, if we're not even in the range, because they can't reach us.
Yeah.
Since their soldier dies, since you just beams their soldier, and their Zen. So that changes how we play massively. But we're definitely really, really close.
Yeah.
And we had shift up. Just a mechanical mistake. I don't want to focus on it for too long because, I mean, those happen. That's okay. I believe this is pretty tragic. Didn't they end up capping here?
Yes. Like, what?
I know.
We killed, like, several of them, but the time didn't run out yet.
Okay.
And then...
Their long range... Sorry, you continue. You can talk about it.
Well, that's all. We didn't have the... It wasn't overtime quite yet. And we got everyone until Zen pops Transcendence just to touch. And then everybody trickles in and we can't kill them fast enough. Okay,
so your Tracer just got picked. We know both of their long range carries are back in the fight because we see Soldier and we see that Zen is in the field. We know we need to either line of sight them or play closer than it's comfortable to them so we can duel them. But if we're line of sighting them, we need to make sure that we're not in line of sight or catchable, not in the effective range of the melee heroes. So you have to find that little middle point. Preferably also we get an off angle. If our team is over here on cart, if there was a perfect angle over here, we'd take it. If we could both avoid their line of sight and not be in melee range of the Reaper and the Kiriko and the Ram, then we take it. Because this would be a cut. They'd be stuck in the middle between two separate angles and they couldn't block both directions, right? So now that's what we're looking for. Every second that you're not in cover, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm waiting for Zen to peek out. Okay, you're in cover. 4 seconds. Okay, Zen tranked. 5. Oh. 6. I mean, okay, so you're not in cover for like 6.5 seconds. In 6.5 seconds, you absolutely can be beamed from 100% HP. Or force your lamp, which is equally terrible. This is a great position. My issue with it is that we're on low ground. I prefer right up behind where you are. There's a little ledge you can sit on. And the reason why I want you on this, there's also some places back here too, is because if Ram decides to turn on you, you're separated from your team. Your Orisa really only if she has Spear can help you to keep the Ram off you, and you'll just get caught. I don't think he does turn for you, but we need to be prepared for that. Good window. They use cooldowns. They just use Ram Punch. I'd be focusing on damage. There's a couple wasted shots. We did secure that kill for the Soldier. We should be looking at Kiri. Nice.
I miss every shot here. I was so frustrated.
Okay, we should be shooting Ram. Once Kiri gets forced out like this, we look back at Ram. Because Ram's not helping, or Kiri's not helping anymore.
Right.
Let me make a point clear. Say you're playing Ana, and you shoot a Tracer once. You do 75 damage. That's half of her HP. She's instantly forced out of the fight, either to recall, or she has to use blinks to get back to cover, or she has to find a health pack. You're removing her from the fight for like 5 seconds at least. That's as good as a kill to you. I don't want you chasing that kill. Same thing for Kiri. You poke Kiri to half HP. I don't want you looking at Kiri anymore. She's effectively out of the fight. Because she's not going to be peeking your Orisa anymore. She doesn't want to die to it. She doesn't want to peek your Echo. She's going to wait for her heals to be up, or she's going to Suzu herself. And then when her Suzu's out, the Ram's maybe a little more valuable target because we want to kill her before he gets his punch up again, right? And that's what happens. Ram is periodically very strong and then very weak. So we want to, when he's very weak, we want to make sure
jumping on it.
Yeah. Ram is a very cooldown based character. He plays around them a lot, as opposed to something like Soldier 76. Soldier isn't. I mean, he has Helix rockets, he has heal pad, but for the most part, his gun is what he does. His run is a constant cooldown. He's pretty much always on, right? He doesn't have downtime in terms of waiting for cooldowns. He's more neutral based. This is something I mention a lot with team coaching. I like students to analyze whether you want to play for a neutral or you want to play for your cooldowns. If you're playing for your cooldowns, you're trying to minimize the amount of time they can poke you and minimize the amount of time that they get to leverage the fact that they're consistently strong and not strong on a cooldown. There's a lot of nuance thought, and it's less applicable in solo queue, I'll say. But if you're thinking about individual characters, it also helps to think that Kiriko, probably a little more cooldown based. She has good neutral. Her kunai are strong, right?
Yeah.
She always has them up. And her healing's okay, but for the most part, she plays her on TP and Suzu. And when those are down, she's not our priority. Our soldier is constantly a priority.
Yeah.
The Ram, not so much a priority when his cooldowns are down, but when they are, when they are up, he is very threatening. What I want to do at this point is we can go into one live game. I'm going to write up basically the most important things I want you to focus on in order.
Yeah.
And while you're playing, I'm just going to kind of gently repeat them to you so that we keep you from autopiloting mostly.
Okay.
I'm going to let you lead your choices mostly. I'm not going to tell you what choices to make. I'm more so going to remind you, are you in the best spot you can be right now? Yes, no. Who should I be shooting right now? What cooldowns are most important to them? What cooldowns do they have up? I'll just kind of assess. I'll ask you. You coach yourself, essentially.
I'll probably end up calming to myself while calming to you.
That's great. That's an excellent habit to get into. That's what I do. I act as if I'm leading a team, even when I'm on my own, in my head, at least.
Yeah.
It really helps you to stop autopiloting. And also it helps you understand your other teammates' desires better.
Yeah.
You know, we as a team should be pushing up here. That means probably my team's gonna push, so I need to move too. Sometimes there's a disconnect towards we're only thinking about ourselves, and we don't realize that maybe there's an opportunity elsewhere. That's happening around our other teammates.
Gotcha.
So yeah, no, I definitely like that. I think that's something you should do all the time, and I like that you do that in your videos too, just because
just entertaining.
It's good. It's entertaining, but it's also, we can tell what gears are working in your head. You know what I mean? It's good. Because the worst thing is, if I have to talk to someone that doesn't know what they were thinking, I don't know what to tell them. I'm not here to tell you the theoretically perfect way to play Overwatch. Oh, you should be here right now, you should be here right now. I'm here to help develop thought processes, because that goes a far longer way than telling you how to play a specific character on a specific map in a very specific scenario.
Yeah.
If you talk with confidence, you always know what you're talking about. If you say something with confidence that's wrong, people will point it out, and you'll learn faster. You have to put yourself out there to make some mistakes. If you keep it all to yourself and you don't share with people what you're thinking, people can't give you pointers.
Yeah. So I insta-locked... go ahead.
Oh, yeah, sure, no, go.
I insta-locked BAP on this map. One, because I hate this map, and I play in a lot. I insta-locked them because on this map it's really hard for me to... It feels too close range for Anna, and the space is vertical a lot.
Right, yep, absolutely.
So there's not great lines of sight, and I have to be you
have to be up down, moving around vertically, not so much on the X and Y axis, or the X and Z axis rather.
Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, so mostly here, once we see what team they're on, press tab, analyze your threat. Who can get on you? Who has effective range on you?
Yeah, that's good.
I hear Hanzo, so we have to stay out of his LOS. Doom when he has cooldowns. What else? Think about the team.
I can't see her.
Just shoot someone else. If Doom's more of a distraction.
Yeah, I can't really shoot the tank, so I guess I'll stay up here, although if he died. I don't like my spot here, because I'm not in the open, so even if he doesn't kill me...
Nice, I like that. Who are we looking at now? Is Doom our best target?
No, I wouldn't say so.
Nice. Good, not autopiloting, but stay out of Doom's effective range. Cool, he said. We hear Zen. Okay, Zen's on that window.
Yeah.
We can either get really close or stay out of line of sight. Those are options.
Yeah, I don't think I'll challenge him there because he already has that height. So I'm just gonna kind of stay here. Keep secondary height with this. Just in case my Kenshin needs it.
Doom has no jump, so we're a little safer now. I'd start backing up now. Doom might come press. Yep.
I was down.
So dual him once he blocks back up. High ground there. Cool, he has no cooldowns. Now look at the target. He's our best target.
Keep my Rhino alive, because we're actually, I think, doing okay this one. Now I can back up.
Yep. I think mostly that fight was lost because we didn't back up early enough and anticipate the Doom was coming for us, and he distracted us for so long.
Yeah. Staying out of range of the Hanzo. I have no idea where my team is.
Yep. Alright, so what are we waiting for to use window? What cooldowns do we need to wait for before we say they're at a point of no return? Maybe Doom
sure.
cooldowns,
Yeah,
if I can direct you. Yeah, if Doom punches in, you can window him.
I don't want to window here because the angle sucks.
Yep, I agree.
I don't know where like our tank's pathing is. Shit.
You can window, maybe. He has no cooldowns now. We look for window. Now he has cooldowns back. You have to wait.
Oh my gosh. I'm like wide in the open.
Yeah, and that's okay. I'm talking a lot. It's very frantic. I get that. More so, I'd rather you lose methodically than win doing what you're comfortable with and autopiloting.
Yeah. I think I was expecting my team to like try to take space for me so I could window behind them. But like
I'd say
you're
don't go to
sitting
top
behind
right.
here.
Over there.
The reason it's very spammable.
Yeah. So like here or down?
Maybe bottom left. Depends on where your team goes. If your team goes around left, maybe we go around right. That's a Doom punch. Yeah, keep rotating, keep rotating. Alright, listen for cooldowns. Don't engage first. Okay, he has no cooldown, you can look for the window maybe.
This is why you hire a
Okay, good off angle. Okay, let's get a new position. He has no cooldown, so look for the window. Before strength. Nice, let's get a new position. We can hard cover.
What is that melody? Stay near the immortality field.
I feel like we have to take point.
Round of healing.
You can play by jumping up and down from point.
Oh man, I'm just choking there.
It's okay. I like the thought processes, and we have next map, so.
Yeah. It is interesting because I'm definitely not like moving intuitively. I'm like
when you get thrown out of your comfort zone, it feels really, really uncomfortable. Just like for movement. I totally get that. I totally get that.
Yeah. Okay. So this map, like ahead of time, we should begin. I normally hug the wall. So like when we push up, I'm normally like hugging the left side here. I think we're on the left side, yeah.
Yep.
Of the wall, and I really stay up there most of the fight. Like, as long as I don't get forced off.
Let me ask you, when do you think you should drop? Is there a time to ever drop?
If
rotate to a different angle?
Like if they have numbers on me, or if we've already won the fight and we're being aggressive. But if they have numbers on the opposite side of me, or a lot of pressure.
Let me say also, if they don't have cooldowns, I want you rotating. They can't catch you if you go somewhere aggressive. You look at it, just kind of freaking.
Backing up. Should I have backed up and still faced them? I popped the lamp because I thought I could win the 1v1.
There was numbers advantage. You forced Moira to fade to him. I would have backed out immediately and gone, great, okay, that's what I contributed.
That's a little win.
That's a win in my book, yeah.
Gotcha.
Tight timing though, it would have been tricky. I don't like dueling Hanzo to begin with.
Yeah.
Just because he has faster time to kill, he's more threatening.
So do I like? Because if I let him take that space, he's all the way around now on our side. So do I not? How do I?
You're mostly looking to line of sight the long range carries while being outranged from the short range people. Poke them out, get cooldowns, and then rotate to a new angle. to close out the fight.
Gotcha.
So we're looking to maybe poke like Zen here or something if they have it. Or jump, maybe? Okay, let's get a new angle. They know we're here. Oh, he had a nice shot.
Yeah.
And
I
this
guess I
is
could have not have
hard to
jumped.
retake. This is why Antarctic Peninsula is a pretty difficult map. There's like one choke.
Yeah.
And it's also why Brawl is very good on this map. It's because May can stuff chokes really well.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of space for dive to set up from. So it's tricky.
Yeah. Okay. I'm walking left. Doom's gonna dive. I think I can get a new angle here to get visibility.
Absolutely. We scouted Hanzo there. Playing a little outside our range at this point. Get closer. Okay, look, damage. Rolling for Zen mostly. I know what cool.
I don't have lamp, so I'm just keeping my distance to shoot it.
Nice. Okay. Now we want to get in a position where we can see their short range carries, but not their long range carries.
Okay, so like here.
Maybe. If Hanzo peeks that though, let's not re-peek it because it's risky.
Yeah.
And then once their Doom uses punch in, we can look to rotate wider from a team. Alright, let's move away from a team. He has no cooldowns. Now there's no threat to us if we move. When we look at Bastion.
Fuck. I didn't even see it till the last minute.
Vulnerable. Nice. Excellent. Next target is probably done. We still have point control. We don't need a. We can just wait until we get the point.
Okay.
Yep. Good position. Great position. Great position. Okay, now our target's done.
It jumped up. So
Maybe Bastion now. Okay, this is no cooldowns.
Fuck. Man.
Mechanically misplayed, but I want you to realize how much better that was.
Yeah.
That was so much better. We were playing several times above this rank in that fight.
Just backing away.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the reminder there that was helpful was, hey, we have the point. You don't have to die for this.
Yep, you don't need a peek until you can spot. Alright. Touch the touch. Let's get a new angle than over here. Or maybe we do it. Take a touch.
I'm leaving.
Maybe
I
we
thought
can
I would
jump
get
up,
closer to
play.
them. Oh, that was brain dead.
Maybe. I wanted us to go through the back just so we could see ahead of time, but yeah.
Yeah.
I'm mostly looking for us to make a play there because our resources are whittling down. Like, we don't have cooldowns anymore. Our range shield's breaking and Briggs out of packs. And they have numbers advantage.
Yeah.
So we're bleeding out to death anyways. We might as well try something.
Yeah.
And because you're down lamp, you can't stabilize your team in order to in order to wait for the cooldowns to come back up. Yep. Well, regardless of the outcome of the match, I liked this way, way more than some of our other gameplay.
Yeah.
I think it was way more thoughtful, honestly.
Yeah.
There was more intention behind everything.
No, I agree. Totally. I think that it's definitely muscle memory to like not...
It's not autopilot and not just walk the same directions every time.
Yeah. Like, for example, our team was going height. I angled low ground right. And then that's when
Hanzo... natural.
Not at all. I would never have done that. And I think Hanzo popped ult.
Dragons, yeah.
I didn't think he was going to shoot him at me. I thought it was going
Yo, yeah, I didn't either.
I was like,
that's a little random.
But I think that definitely opens up a little bit of an angle and a choke, like you said. That's really hard to crack.
Yeah, and there's a trade-off in ranked. Playing to cover your teammates' mistakes and playing to just be the best player you can, they're two different options. They have their pros and cons.
Yeah.
If you play for the rank you want to be at and not like leash your teammates like they're your doggies, and if you're not applying band-aid fixes for your team,
Yeah.
you're gonna improve as a player. That'll kind of scale more gently into higher ranks. So you might have a smoother ride.
Yeah.
But you might take longer to get there.
Gotcha.
Learning is not necessarily linear.
Yeah.
So you can have jumps in improvement. But I think that it depends on the player whether I decide to tell them to like cover your teammates' mistakes, or whether I tell them to go out on your own and make a play and try and just like ditch your teammates if they're not reliable and play for yourself.
Yeah.
And I think you should probably play for yourself. I think that's a playstyle you should adjust more to, because I think over time you're naturally going to climb anyways, and then for the purpose of the series, honestly, you're gonna have a much less rough climb to GM.
Yeah. Trying to cover for
right, because your teammates will stop making some of these lower ranked mistakes later, and you won't be stuck in the habits of covering for them. You won't have to relearn the game as you improve. You just have to carry a little harder if you're not going to necessarily cover your teammates' mistakes all the time. What I do want you doing is really trying your hardest to, like, if I'm not worried about my tank, where's this attention going elsewhere? It should be on the enemy's cooldowns.
Yeah.
If I don't care what HP my tank is at, I should care what HP their tank is at, what cooldowns their tank is at. The reason why I kept mentioning Doom has no cooldowns, you should rotate, is because when Doom doesn't have punch and Doom doesn't have slam, he can't jump on you. When he can't jump on you, you can take an aggressive ankle. An aggressive, like, a cut, an off ankle from your team is more valuable to them than sitting on them. You can heal from that range if you can still see them and do damage better.
Yeah.
Than you could if you're sitting behind them. And the moment Doom has cooldowns back, you can rotate to your team again for that blanket of safety.
That's such like a quicker, like a faster micro decision making that I definitely think I could work on in terms of, like, normally I maybe
absolutely
think macro in terms of, like, as a team we should all position here, but micro, like, he has cooldowns or not. One, something I got out of this was I never track tank cooldowns, almost never.
Yeah.
I think I track DPS because they can hurt me more of the time. Or they tend to dive me more of the time, and so
what I'll say is, yeah, the DPS are the follow-up for the actual carry, which is the tank. Even if the tank doesn't, quote-unquote, kill you, a lot of times he can disrupt your team enough to allow them to get on top of you. So it's kind of a trickle-down effect. So you may not think it's the tank carrying, but yeah, I'd say definitely paying attention to the tank cooldowns. Some tanks play off of cooldowns more than others. Reinhardt doesn't really play off of cooldowns that much. He's more of what I'd call a neutral tank, but Ramatra, definitely. Punch. Doomfist, all cooldowns. His entire kit is just cooldowns. So he's pretty easy to play around, not because he's not because he's a bad hero or because you counter him, but because it's a simple thought process. Does he have cooldowns? Yes. Okay, I need to be careful of him. Does he have cooldowns? No. Let's go crazy. And that's why I kept asking you to track tank cooldowns on the first map when you had BAP window, because when he doesn't have cooldowns, he can't get out. Like we were mentioning with the VOD earlier, with the Ramatra and Precio, I didn't want you windowing at that time because he had block up and he had shield up. Yeah. Once they're gone, he's caught out in the open. And that's what the Doomfist did a lot. Doomfist's int all the time. You just need to open up that, or you need to take that opportunity.
Yeah. Even just now when I said, I track DPS, I don't actually track their cooldowns. I track their ultimates.
I think ulti tracking is just not useful for you at this point.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, it's useful, but it's not your priority.
Yeah.
Obviously everything is useful for you at this point, but I don't think it should be your first priority, because ultimates are going to affect your fights like 1 in every 3. If you're tracking a specific DPS, every 3 fights, that ult is going to have an impact. Every fight, their cooldowns are going to have an impact, no matter what. You're just setting yourself up for success 2 more fights than you would have normally. If you're shifting your like mental resources from focusing on ultimates to focusing on cooldowns.
Wow.
So, and it's simple against characters like that have better neutral. Like if you're against Soldier, you don't really need to track his cooldowns. Yeah. Because he does the same thing. Or like Zenyatta. Zenyatta literally doesn't have cooldown.
Right.
He literally doesn't. The only thing you could kind of say he has cooldowns on is his reload animation. Like he has a certain amount of bullets at a time.
Right.
and that's it. But that's like a 2-second window that maybe you have. It's not something you really need to. I don't track Zenyatta's reload. That's just ridiculous.
No,
So
that's so
a lot of
good.
the times it'll make it easier for you. You don't have to focus on everyone at once. You don't need the weight of the world on you. Just your greatest threat, honestly, your greatest couple threats.
Yeah, that's good. I was wondering because I was like, man, I'm finding the first map, most of the comms I was receiving from you was like about the Doomfist.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, yeah, but I could probably melt somebody else. Like it almost feels a little counterintuitive to what I've been thinking about, which is ignore the tank, because myself and especially in lower ranks, we just bullet sponge the guy. And so it's like, to train myself to focus other players, I'm like, ignore the tank.
Ignore the tank, focus other players. Ignore the tank when the tank's not a threat.
Yeah.
When the tank is a threat, you have to respect him. And that's easy to track with Doom, because Doom is a threat sometimes and then not sometimes. It's very clear cut. Tanks like Reinhardt, it really depends. It might depend more on if you're playing against Reinhardt. Reinhardt may be more of a threat if he has a Lucia. If Lucia has speed, maybe that's the cooldown you track. By extension, it's helping the tank. Because Reinhardt doesn't really have a lot of gap close. Like if you separated from your team, like you're playing against Doomfist, against Reinhardt would walk slowly at you. Yeah. So you don't really care about what cooldowns he has. Maybe he has charge, maybe he charges at you, but usually that's a death sentence. What you might want to track instead is, I'm worried about the tank, sure, but I'm worried about the tank because the Lucio can enable the Reinhardt to get on top of me, and maybe you track Lucio's speed boost instead.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's not always quite like a one-to-one, like this character's cooldowns, or this character is my threat, so I track this character's cooldowns. Sometimes it's this character enables another one. Which is a very nuanced game. I wish you best of luck in your climb to Awkward's skill level.
Oh gosh.
I believe in you. Yeah, I think it's that it's more difficult to learn from someone not playing in your rank, because there's some adjustments you may need to make playing at a lower, some more things you need to be aware of.
Yeah.
Playing at a lower rank, like how I was mentioning, don't int with the inters. If your team's going to feed, don't feed with them. You can just play to trade backline. It might not happen as often in Awkward's videos because he's playing at slightly higher elos.
Yeah.
But obviously everything he says applies to all ranks. Everything he demonstrates applies to all ranks. Obviously he would shit on bronze players way harder than platinum players.
Yeah.
It's just it's just more so that there are like a couple little niche things that are like kind of unique to lower skill level players that you might want to consider. For the most part, though, I think they're totally great resources.
No, I think that's where, you come in. And I think that's a helpful thing, because in my opinion, I've watched a lot of Unranked to GM videos, streams, whatever. And it is hard to grasp exactly like what I should do. And I think as part of this series, we're trying to go through some fundamentals, like doing damage first, like even the equation you mentioned earlier, like damage first, playing cover, all these things. But like you said, one, it's hard to do them all at the same time and learn how to do them at the same time well. Two, it's just like, it is helpful to have someone that is filling in those gaps. If we think of like the analogy of like the rocks in a cup, like you start with the really big ones. And I feel like to a point, that's what Awkward has done for a lot of the community. It's like, hey, these are the big rocks. Yep. And I think there are a lot of other really skilled, really capable coaches that can be like, well, here's a medium rock that'll help you.
Here's the medium and small rocks. Yeah. Absolutely.
Definitely appreciate your experience, your time, your help. Obviously, super valuable.
Yep.
And thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I hope you'd be willing to do this again. This was
sure.
Really fun.
Yeah. I'd love to come back at some point, see the progress you've made. I'm gonna type up notes for you and stuff. Just submit them on Metafy so that you can remember the kind of stuff that we talked about.
Sure.
And then also, I like writing, like, for me personally, when I learn, I like repeating phrases in my head of like things to keep track of so that I don't autopilot.
Yeah.
I like having like a mantra or something to follow.
Yeah.
So I'll just write that. I'll write out the notes, and then at the bottom will probably be like it'll probably seem like three disconnected words, but you'll know what each one means individually. That's mostly just what I advise is
That's awesome.
to keep yourself from autopiloting. Just repeat those. But yep.
Cool.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, loved it. And we'll see you in the next one. We definitely appreciate your time. So thank you very much.
See it. Thank you.